ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। There are a couple of clarifications with reference to what we have been discussing. Yajna. The first one, the first question is, Yajna equals the capacity to sacrifice, meaning the capacity to consciously let go. So the understanding is sacrifice means to let go. Sacrifice means to let go. Yajna equals sacrifice. Sacrifice means to let go. Now, what is implied in letting go? Something you are holding on to. Something you are holding on to, and that which you are holding on to is detrimental to you. You are holding on. See, the capacity to let go. Now, a few things we have to, implications are there. First thing is to let go. Now you are holding on to something. Number two, you need to let go of that which you are holding on to because it is detrimental to you. If it is beneficial to you, why do you have to let go? Where is letting go coming in? So you are holding on to something, and that holding on is detrimental to you. Detrimental to you in relationship to what? Detrimental to you in relation to moksha, the singular end. Therefore, you need to let go. Are you able to follow? So sacrifice means to let go. To let go of what? To let go of that which you are holding on to, which is appearing meaningful to you, which is appearing worthy to you, which is not really that worthy, which is not really that meaningful in relation to the goal of liberation. You need to let go. Therefore, yajna means, sacrifice means to let go. That's a definition. Are you able to follow? Is the definition clear? So, whenever we talk about letting go, these are the things that is implied. See, even though these things are not explained, these things are by implication. We understand these few things. From these implications, the definition is derived. The capacity to let go. Are you okay till now? Who is saying it as meaningless? Who is calling it as worthless? Not you. You are not calling it as meaningless. You are not calling it as worthless. For you, it is meaningful. That's why you are holding on to the higher intellect, which means the Shastras, Vedanta, the Guru. They say let go. Taking their Vakya as the Pramana, you let go. That is Yajna Karma. Taking their Vakya as the Pramanam, you let go. Just as you take the word, you take the Vakya, you take the word of the doctor as the Pramana and you consume the medicine. And then you may see the effect. In the case of the worldly thing, you take the pramana of the doctor and consume the medicine, the result can be either way. It can be positive or it can be negative. You may get cured, you may not get cured. In the Shastra Pramana, in the Vedanta Pramana, you do it, it is confirmed. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. Are you able to follow? So this is the This is the, so from all this definition, from all this analysis, we come to this conclusion. What sacrifice means to let go. One is to take the word as the pramanam and let go, which you can't do consistently. Once or twice you can take the word as the pramanam and let go, but the doubts come, the samshaya comes. Therefore, you go through the process of study and reflection. Therefore, you go through the process of study and reflection and understand and then let go. Are you able to follow? So you by just taking the word, by just taking the command, you can't let go. You can let go, but it will not be consistent. The mind will come back with its own samshayas, the doubts. Therefore, because of the samshayas coming, now when samshaya comes, that samshaya can be removed only through knowledge and understanding. That samshaya cannot be removed by reinforcing. Go and do it again. It doesn't work that way. Therefore, we adopt both the methods. What is both the methods? We take the sentence as let go as the pramanam, and then we study and analyze and understand and agree to that. We take it as a pramanam, we analyze, we understand, and we agree to that, and then we, once you understand, letting go happens by itself. It means you have gained wisdom. Till you gain that wisdom, you have to let go with effort. That letting go with effort is what is yajna karma all about. Idam na mama. Idam na mama solli podradha. You are letting go, but the letting go is not happening effortlessly. The letting go is happening with effort. Is it okay? This is the definition. Now, what is the meaning of the capacity in the context of, in verse number 25, third paragraph, we discussed creation emerged along with yajna, the statement. That's where the formula starts. Creation emerged along with yajna. So the second clarification is reference to that statement. What is the meaning of the capacity in the context of creation emerged along with yajna? What is the meaning of capacity? What had happened is, imagine this. At the time of creation, the capacity to sacrifice has come. At the time of creation, what has come? Imagine it theoretically. At the time of creation, what has come? The jiva has come along with the capacity to sacrifice. Now that jiva, what the jiva can do? What the jiva can do? Let go of the jivatvam. Let go of the individuality, sacrificing that individuality and go back to Brahman. Or he can continue to be in the world. Are you able to follow? Understand it. There is no, don't try to get a logical proof for this. See, when I say logical proof of it, carefully follow. Don't use the Laukika logic here. Laukika logic means logic based on pratyaksha. There is no pratyaksha here. Why there is no pratyaksha? Is because we were not there at the first point. Now you need to know that where to use what logic. There are two kinds of logic. One is the Laukika. Another is the Alaukika, which is Shastric. Now, what is Laukika? All sciences in the world uses the Laukika. They perceive, they gather data, and then analyze whatever the process is, and then they come to a conclusion. So, data collection. For Shastra, where do you collect data from? For this, before you start any analysis, you need to gather data. Now, where do you gather data for the Shastra? From the Shastra itself. There is no pratyaksha because you can't gather data from that and put it here. Why? Because the very field of inquiry is different. What they used to do in the olden tradition is before they want to study Vedanta, all this will be taught. How to infer, how to study, how to analyze, what is the relevance of what logic should be applied in Vedantic study. All this will be taught first, so that when you come into the study, so many samshayas are gone. Now what we are doing here is we are trying to do both simultaneously. That is why the current system is such a confused system. Because we don't even know that what is pramanam for one cannot be used as pramanam for another. For example, for sight, eyes is the pramanam. Take a simple example. For sight, eyes are the pramanam. For sound, ear is the pramanam. Are you able to follow? Now, the eye cannot prove the sight or disprove the sight. The eyes cannot say the ear, carefully follow. Eyes is that which can prove or disprove sight. Now the ear cannot. Now the ear cannot prove there is sight, nor it can disprove there is no sight. Why? Because that field itself is different. So when it comes to the inquiry of the Shastras, the logic, before we analyze, we need data. For any analysis, we need data. One way is what the science does, as in pratyaksha. When it comes to the creation, we can't use pratyaksha as the data here. You can't have why you can't use pratyaksha? Because at the time, at the time of creation, the statement is creation emerged along with yajna. It cannot be logically proven through laukika pratyaksha. Worldly using the methodology there, don't try to understand this. This is separate. Are you able to follow? What is the methodology that is used in the sciences? Observation and then coming to a conclusion. Observation, there of course I am not getting into the details of it. You observe, gather data, and then come to a conclusion is the process. Here, the process is the same. Analysis is the same, discrimination is the same, conclusion is the same, everything is the same. But where do you gather data from? That's the whole catch here. Are you able to follow? Where do you gather data from? You gather data from the very Shastram itself. And that Shastram says, creation emerged along with yajna. It means what? At the time of creation, meaning the birth time of creation means, I said it very clearly, don't take it as Big Bang theory and the word creation like that. The creation of the birth of the jiva, the individual, the human. The birth of the human, here I am using jiva to be synonymous with human being. Okay, I will not use the word jiva because it's not an appropriate word. I use the word individual. At the time of the birth of the individual, he has a choice. What is the choice? The choice to perform, the capacity to let go. What he lets go? What does he let go? What does he let go there? The very individuality itself. The very individuality itself is sacrificed. Now the individual is sacrificing. Are you able to follow? The individual is sacrificing, and when you go back, what is sacrificed? The very individuality itself is sacrificed. And that is the last thing to go. Why? Because that is the first thing that came out. We are working backwards. Since you are working backwards, when you dissolve, what is the last thing that will go? The first thing that appeared. What is the first thing that appeared? The individuality is the first thing that appeared, and that would be the last thing to go. And what helps you to let go of the individuality? The capacity to sacrifice.
My question is there capacity to sacrifice, capacity to study, to exercise? On the right side, when I think the capacity, what is only the capacity? The capacity,
the potential. She is asking what does capacity means, not capacity to. Per se, what is that capacity?
Yes, that's all my question.
Per se, what is that capacity? Per se, the capacity means the potential. You cannot, theoretically, you have to assume these are separate. When it comes into action, both will mix up together. You cannot segregate it like that. For understanding purposes, we are saying there is something called potential.
Capacity means
Potential, which I said in the introduction itself. I said capacity means potential. I gave the example: kinetic energy, potential energy, and all that. It is the potential. It is potential. The potential, the potential, the ability, the capacity.
So the ability is like the electricity from the sun.
Very ability is not like if you say only ability like electricity, then it means consciousness, Brahman.
Correct.
The capacity to let go, the capacity to, you cannot understand just the capacity per se. That capacity can be understood only in relation to an action. What she is asking is how to understand the capacity per se without correlating it with any action. It is not possible. Capacity can be understood only in relation to action. You cannot understand the capacity per se. It is impossible. It is trying to understand that which is impossible.
That capacity is the bliss.
Capacity to let go, the capacity to act, capacity in relation to action, capacity in relation to action, capacity not in relation to anything else, capacity in relation to action per se. Don't mix it up with consciousness, don't mix it up with God, don't mix it up with grace, don't mix it up with Ishvara and all that. That has got nothing to do with all this. The capacity to, capacity in relation to action. What is this capacity in relation to action? You have the capacity to sleep. Are you sleeping now? That's all. Do you sleep? Yes. Are you sleeping now? Why? That capacity is not put into use now. When this capacity is put into use, you sleep. Are you able to follow? So it is always in relation to the action only. Per se, there is no such thing called capacity. Per se, you can't understand what is capacity. In relation to action, you need to connect. You can't understand capacity per se. If you can understand capacity per se, then it is not capacity. It means understanding the enlivener, understanding the consciousness. Capacity is not consciousness here. Capacity is not enlivener here. Capacity is not consciousness. Capacity is not enlivener. Capacity to let go. Enlivener letting go. What are we talking then? It doesn't make any sense after. Are you able to follow? It doesn't make any. You replace it like that. Capacity to let go means enlivener letting go. It makes no sense. Enlivener let go of what? What is he holding on to in the first place to let go? That's why I gave the definition also clearly. Are you able to follow? With these two, think about it. Chariya?
But that capacity too is not belonging to Jiva. It is given by the Sunnah.
Yes. The capacity to is given to Jiva. Given to Jiva is part of Jiva. It is part of Jiva. We need not say even given to Jiva. Upon birth itself, it is intrinsic to the Jiva. It is intrinsic to the human being. Don't say it is given. Prana is not given. Is prana given? Prana is intrinsic. Is body given? Body is intrinsic to the individual. Similarly, the capacity to sacrifice is intrinsic. It's not given. Nobody gives it. The birth itself, it's a package. It's a package. The birth itself has it. That's what he's saying. Seriya? Same verse 25. The same paragraph. Continuation from the creation emerged along with Yajna. So, if creation is to fold back to its very source of Brahman, then Yajna will be the last to dissolve. When Yajna itself is given up, creation can no longer be sustained. This is from the commentary. Now the clarification on this. For one who has self-realized, while the creation has folded back to its very source of Brahman, we still see the Yajna continuing, as in the Prarabdha functioning. Explain. What Narayanji is asking is, for the one who has self-realized, he has done all this and it has folded back. Now he has attained the state of perfection. He is self-realized. We still see Yajna continuing, meaning we see the self-realized person still continuing as in the Prarabdha functioning. His Prarabdha is still functioning. That is why the individuality is still existing, continuing to perform the same transactions of receipt, reaction and response. Individuality is still existing, continuing to perform the same receipt, reaction, response as in Prarabdha. In some other context, we use the word Prarabdha for this. Now explain this. Now, what happens in the case of the self-realized person? What happens in the case of the self-realized person is, the moment he has gotten to the state of self-realization, he performs Yajna. He continues to perform Yajna. The difference is, as I said before in the same thing, in his case, the possibility of not doing Yajna doesn't exist at all for him. So whatsoever he does, it will be Yajna only. Only in the case of a non-enlightened, unenlightened, we have these two. The capacity to perform Yajna, to fold back or to continue in the world, gathering more and more vasanas. Now what happens in the case of the enlightened person? In the case of an enlightened person, he doesn't have the possibility of the choice of doing anything selfish. That possibility itself doesn't exist in him, which is a very tricky thing to conceive, which is slightly tricky to conceive. For sometimes he may look, sometimes his actions may appear to be selfish. But in his case, in the case of an enlightened person, what happens is this: whatsoever he does, it's all Yajna only. That is why in his case, he doesn't do anything other than Yajna. Since he doesn't do anything other than Yajna, he is free from the Adrishta power. He is free from the unseen power. The unseen power, the Adrishta power, what we call as the law of karma. In our actions, karma exists. Karma creates. In his actions, it doesn't create any karma at all. Though acting, he is not creating any karma. Means all that he does is yajna only. This is how we infer. This is how we come to a rational conclusion. If karma can be created in him, then he is not self-realized in the first place. Then he is not self-realized in the first. So if he is self-realized, whatsoever he does, that's why Swamiji keeps on saying, whatsoever he does is good. Aduvum nandru. Whatsoever he does is good. For he doesn't have the possibility of doing something other than yajna. Other than yajna means selfish. Other than yajna means selfish. Yeah. Swa upakara is selfish, catering to oneself. Para upakara. Paropakaraartham idam shariram, it says, no? The Vedic Vakya. Paropakaraartham idam shariram. Shariram means body, means actions. So his actions effortlessly, choicelessly, only will be paropakaram only. Effortlessly, choicelessly. For he has removed completely from the root the possibility of selfishness, which is what self-realization is all about. This is how we need to understand this. Is it okay, Narayanji? This is how we can understand this. Two things. One is self-realization means he has no choice of doing other than yajna karma. Like us, we have a choice to do yajna karma or not to do yajna karma. That choice he doesn't have. Second is, in him, the possibility of selfishness is, in him, the possibility of selfishness, in him, the law of karma has no, in him, when I say in him means, in his actions, law of karma has no power. In our cases, law of karma has a power. What we generally see as adrashta, no? Adrashta means law of karma. That's all. Adrashta means law of karma. Is it okay, Narayanji?
Okay.
Yeah. This is what it means here. Seriya?
Okay.
Yeah. We move on to Yajna 3 and 4, where we have left. Halfway through, we have left Yajnas 3 and 4. Yajna 3 is related to perception. Yajna 4 is related to restraint. Now, first thing is the Yajna of perception. Shabdadin Vishayananye Indriyagnishu Juhvati. The Yajna of perception. Two essential factors to Yajna. We should remember from now on. The Ahuti and the kindling. We should remember the two essential factors now, from now on. The Ahuti and the kindling. The Ahuti and the kindling. In the Yajna of perception, the stimuli entering the sense organ constitute the Ahuti. Sense perceptions, the flames kindled. What is the Ahuti and what is the kindling here? The stimuli entering the sense organs is the Ahuti. The sense perceptions is the kindling. So stimuli and the kindling. In between, the sense organs acts as the ladle, the spoon. In between, the sense organ acts like the like the ladle, the spoon. Therefore, yeah, remember the yajna ritual? The ahuti is there, the fire is there. You the ladle is that which connects. Now here, stimuli is the ahuti. Perception is the kindling. Happens through sense organs. Now, what is worship here? What is the worship in this? When the with awareness of this, how to convert this into worship now? This is happening. Now, this is what is happening. That which is happening is not yajna. That which is happening has to be converted into yajna. Now, how to, so first we say this is what is happening. Now, how do we convert it into yajna? This is how we convert it into yajna. How? With awareness. With awareness. When you bring in the awareness, it turns into worship. Awareness into what? Awareness into the stimuli, the sense organ, the perception. The stimuli, the sense organ, the perception. When you are aware of these three, perception happens with awareness. This perception happening with awareness is what? Is what worship is all about. So, that which is happening, now it is happening, but it is happening without awareness. Are you able to follow? It is happening, but it is happening without an awareness. There is no awareness of what is happening. Awareness means involvement. Sorry, lack of awareness means involvement. What is involvement? Involvement in the stimuli, involvement in the perception. Involvement in the stimuli, involvement in the perception. Involvement in both. What is involvement in both means? What is involvement means? Involvement means you got involved in it. When we say you got involved in it means you forgot something vital. You forgot something vital. What is that which is? What is that vital that you forgot? The offering is the stimuli. The kindling is the perception. Offering is the stimuli. Kindling is the perception. Offering is the stimuli. Kindling is the perception. Without getting involved in it. Now, what is getting involved in it? When you hear a sound, you get involved in the sound. What is getting involved in the sound means? What is getting involved in the sound means? Some sound you like, some sound you dislike. Some you prefer, some you don't prefer. Some you want to hear more, some you don't want to hear at all. Yeah. Gossip, we can hear the whole day. Brahma Jnanam, more than few minutes, we can't hear. Are you able to follow? Therefore, what is involvement means? Involvement is getting carried away by the stimuli. The stimuli is powerful that you are carried away by it. The stimuli is so powerful that you are carried away by the stimuli. Like, to put it very simply, the sight of Coca-Cola makes the child feel thirsty. It is not thirsty. The sight of it makes it feel thirsty. It means what? The site has created this. Are you able to follow? Involvement in the very stimuli itself. Involvement in the very stimuli. So first thing that you have to aware is you have to be very careful about how you deal with the stimuli. This is the awareness. Are you able to follow? This is the awareness. Today, we don't worry about the stimuli at all, for we believe that stimuli doesn't do anything. Ella mind dana, sir. It's all in the mind, no. Therefore, we liberally move amongst the stimuli. Vedanta comes and says, as in the Bhajagovindam, Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Be careful about how you deal with the stimuli, because the starting point of you losing the awareness is stimuli itself. Stimuli level awareness is gone. Therefore, he starts from there. Therefore, he starts from the stimuli level itself and say, be aware. What is awareness means? Awareness means you can call it as the awareness of the divine, the awareness of the consequences of the stimuli that it is going to, the awareness of the consequences the stimuli is going to create in you. This awareness. Are you able to follow? This awareness. Therefore, what? The offering is the stimuli, the kindling the perception. With awareness of this, one can convert every sense perception into yajna. This is yajna number 3. Yajna number 3 is over. Yajna number 3 is over. I hear. Sound perception over means stimuli entering. Sound itself, do you hear? The sound has to enter through the sense organ and register in the mind. Then only you say, I hear. Sound, as it were, dies in the mind. And then you say, I hear. இது வந்து ஒரு கிரியேட்டிவா, ஒரு ஃபிகரேட்டிவா, சிம்பாலிக்கா புரிஞ்சுக்கணும். The sound dies, as it were, in the mind and says, I hear is kindled. When it dies in the mind and when I say I hear, I get so involved in that hearing. When I say I see, I get so involved in the seeing. So, when the sound dies and when I say I hear rises, along with the rising of I hear, what should not go? What should not go? The awareness should not go. Awareness should not go. If awareness has gone means you got involved. See, please understand, in the method da ella yajna. That's why I am spending some time in this. This is how it will be spoken in all the continual yajnas also. Method is the same. It dies, as it were, and it kindles, as it were. So when it is kindling, what is kindling? The perception is kindled. Now, to put it, to explain it further, I hear. I hear is the perception that is kindled. So when I say I hear, and that hearing can be with awareness, or that hearing with involvement. So when hearing is done with awareness, it is a worship. Yajna. Awareness, I described already. Awareness means awareness of the divine enlivener, awareness of the consequences of involvement. So as I say, I hear,
What question should
I am aware. As I say, I hear, I am aware. It comes through training. You need to continuously practice yajna. It is not an analytical method. Please understand. Yajna is not an analytical method. Yajna is practical. It has to be done. Jnanam is analytical. Yajna karma is not analytical. Yajna karma is that which has to be done. So wherever possible during the day, when see this is happening all the time. So any time of the day you have an opportunity to perform worship. You don't need a special time to worship. You don't need a special place to worship, because any time of the day these perceptions are happening. Anytime you can choose to worship. This is yajna number 3. Now fourth yajna. Yajna of self-restraint. Yajna number 3 is called yajna of yajna of perception. Yajna number 4 is called yajna of self-restraint. It has 2 constituents: hearing and other sense perceptions as the offerings, fires of self-restraint as the flames kindled. What is the ahuti and what is the kindling? What is ahuti? What is the kindling? In the third yajna, we took up one sense. In the third yajna, we took up one sense. You can take one sense and perform yajna. In the fourth yajna, you take up all the senses. That is the difference. Restraint. That is the difference. In the third yajna, one sense. It can be smell. Whatever the 5 is. Whatever the 5 is, you can take up one and practice there. In the fourth yajna, you take up all the 5. So what is offered here? Hearing and other sense perceptions as the offerings. Hearing and other sense perceptions as the offerings means what? All the sense perceptions are the offerings here. Hear, smelling, hear, smell, taste, touch, sight, all together is offering. And what is kindled? Self-restraint are the flames kindled. What does it mean? When you let perceptions die away, you develop self-restraints. When you merely consumes the perception, the fires of self-restraint is kindled. So perceptions are the ahuti, self-restraint are the flames kindled. Now what is the worship here? First I established what is the ahuti and what is the kindling. Now what is the worship here? The worship here is when a sense organ perceives a sense object, the experience of that sense object is complete. In the modern day language, we call it as experience. The Vedantic terminology is enjoyment. In the modern day terminology, we use the word experience. So when a sense organ perceives a sense object, the experience of that particular sense object is complete. Now, all the words are the same in the sentence. Only experience will be replaced with the word enjoyment, because that is the classic, that's a classic Vedantic terminology. The perception is over. The perception is over. Why do we say enjoyment? Is because the sense organs have gotten a satisfaction. The sense organs have gotten a satisfaction. Are you able to follow? That is why enjoyment. What is the satisfaction? Okay, kaadu mudiye vachirunda, you feel like wanting to hear something. Supposing nobody is talking, you feel like somebody should talk to you, no? Suppose you are put in an empty room where there is nothing to see except the four walls. You want to see. So the senses long for the corresponding sense object to experience, and when that experience happens, that is called enjoyment. That is why in Vedanta we don't use the word experience, we use the word enjoyment. Clear the difference? Listen to it again. Go through it again. You will be able to follow. When you do that, what happened is the perception is complete. Yeah. Perception complete ஆன உடனே அடுத்த யஜ்ஞாக்கு போகணும். What is the next yajna? The next perception. What is the next yajna? The next perception. If you are going on to the next perception, self-restraint is kindled. If you do not go to the next perception, what is happening? You don't go to the next perception. Instead of going to the next perception, what do? What does a person do? We have seen it any number of times. What does the person do? Instead of going to the next perception, they relive. They linger. When they linger, what happens? The mind tends to mentally relive the experience. Carefully follow. It's there in the commentary also. I'm explaining it. That's why when you're studying, keep the commentary also. It tries to relive the experience through memory and indulge in that sense perception mentally. It means what? The senses are not doing its respective job. The senses are not allowed to do its respective job of continuous register of perceptions and moving on to the next. What are you doing? What is the person doing? That person is reliving that which happened through the senses, that enjoyment that happened through the senses, that person is reliving through memory. If you relive through the memory, what happens? When you relive, what happens? You create vasanas. You create desires. You create vasanas. That is how the sense perceptions, not knowing how to deal with the sense perceptions, you go on creating vasanas. Now, what is self-restraint means? If your mind is not lingering in the enjoyment, now take the opposite case. Now, if your mind is not lingering in the enjoyment of what? Enjoyment of perceptions after they end. Are you able to follow the difference here? While going through the experience, enjoy. This is an implication. Are you able to follow? While going through the enjoyment, while going through the experience it fully. As you are eating the mango, don't call it as illusory, temporary, transiental. Don't do that. As you are eating the mango, eat the mango with full. Eat the mango. I don't know. How do you eat it fully? Whatever that way of eating fully is, you do it. The mind does not linger in the enjoyment of the perceptions after they end. Now that it is over, what you should do? What you should do? Do not relive that. So, in the first case where you lose sight is at the perception itself. Sound itself you get carried away and you are lost. Sight itself you get carried away and you are lost. Second area where you are lost is that all these combined put together goes in the mind and creates an experience. More number of senses participate in one experience, the joy content is more. Lingering will be more. That is why in every experience we want maximum senses to participate. Now more number of senses participate, the joy content is more. Like for example, the food. I have given this example any number of times. What eats the food first? What eats the food first? The eyes eat it first. Duragende patrum. Kitta varumbodhu second is the smell eats it. No, yeah. The eyes eat it, the nose eats it, apranda it comes to the touch. தொடும்போது நல்லா இருக்கணும், சொரசொரம்லாம் இருக்கக்கூடாது இல்லையா, கொரகொரம்லாம் இருக்கக்கூடாது, தொடர்த்துக்கும் நல்லா இல்லையா, நல்லா இருக்கணும், சாஃப்டா இருக்கணும், வாட் எவர் பி இட். Fourth only is the tongue. Therefore, what do they do in the restaurant? காது விட்டதுன்றதுனால they keep a background music. ஏன் காது மட்டும் விட்டுட்டோன்றதுனால they keep a background music, and in that unit experience of eating, when all the senses are catered to, the experience is, the joy is maximum joy, extraordinary joy. So the tendency of the mind is to linger, relive. What here he says, whatsoever the best experience is, whatsoever the best experience is, don't linger. Don't linger. Are you able to follow? Don't linger. In lingering, what is happening? You create further likes and dislikes. You create further expectations. You create further likes and dislikes. You create further expectations also. What is the further expectation? Next time also it should give you the, next time also you don't contact it afresh, you contact it with the previous memory. What is the previous memory? அன்னைக்கு பண்ண சாம்பார் மாதிரி இன்னைக்கு இல்ல. What அன்னைக்கு இருந்த மாதிரி கச்சேரி இன்னைக்கு இல்ல, அன்னைக்கு அவர் பாடின மாதிரி இன்னைக்கு பாடல. சார் உங்க கிளாஸ் நேத்திக்கு நல்லா இருந்தது சார், இன்னைக்கு ஒன்னும், இன்னைக்கு ஓகே. Yesterday morning was very good, today evening it's okay. Are you able to follow? This is how we lose restraint. This is how we lose restraint. Therefore, the classic advice, your perception must end with perception. A wise person does it effortlessly. Enlightened person does it effortlessly. In our case, we need to make a conscious effort to do this. Mere perception will not produce mental reactions. Please understand that. This is catch and the worship. In this entire worship, the catch comes now only. The process is explained. Now comes the actual method. What is now comes the point of how to worship. Mere perception will not produce further mental reactions. I'm reading from the commentary. Every sentence I'm reading from the commentary and I'm explaining it. So just follow the book. It will be easy. It will not, mere perception will not produce further mental reactions. It will not create desires. Perceptions don't have the capacity to create desires. Categorically it is said. பார்த்தாலே desire வந்துராது, experience பண்ணாலே desire வந்துராது, which itself is a very big thing. Not misunderstanding this, only people run away. Not misunderstanding this, only people run away because you பார்த்தாலே desire வந்தனால close the eyes, plug the ears. Here he is saying mere perception will not produce further mental reactions. It will not create desires. It means, what does it means here? Mere perception will not create desires. Yeah, and the ஒரு sentence by heart பண்ணிக்கோங்க போறோம். Mere perception will not create desires. என்ன நான் by heart பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கேன், அதனால it will not create desires. If each perception simply dies away, self-restraint is kindled. If each perception dies away, self-restraint is kindled. Therefore, not allowing any mental indulgence, the self-restraint for all sense objects becomes established. Therefore, what is the yajna here? What is the worship here? When you let your perceptions die away, you develop self-restraint. Die away, now what does it mean? That's what yajna is. That's what fire is. The perceptions is put in fire. When it is put in fire, it dies away. So as it were, remember this. As it were, remember one yajna is going on inside you. What is the yajna going on inside you? Remember this. What is it that you should remember? After the perception is over, it has to die. Lingering should not happen. Lingering will not happen when you are functioning for a very high ideal. When you are working for an extraordinary ideal goal in life, lingering will not happen. Lingering happens because there is no higher ideal. See, how does it work means, see, when you are working for a higher ideal, the mind is so preoccupied with that. The mind is constantly thinking about that. So it doesn't have any time for reliving, lingering Allah. Here, when we don't have any higher ideals to work for, naturally what will happen? Lingering only will happen. Therefore, yajna karma, first point, work for a higher ideal. Now the ideal comes in. What is the ideal? When you are working for the absolute ideal, by default, what will happen? Restraint will be kindled. So, what is the ahuti and what is the kindling here? Perceptions are the ahuti and self-restraint is the kindling. This is yajna number 4. With this, we have finished 2 yajnas. Yajna number 3, yajna number 4, both are in relation to the perceptions part, the receipt of the stimuli part. So these 2 are in relation to the receipt of the stimuli part. Now we move on to verse number 27. Verse number 27. Verse number 27 talks about yajna. What is the yajna? The yajna that he talks about here is the yajna of self-control. Self-restraint, he called it as yajna number 4. Yajna number 5 is in relation to the self-control. Sarvani indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yogagnav juhvati jnana deepite. That is the verse. Others sacrifice all the functions of the senses and the functions of the vital airs into the fire of yoga of self-control kindled by wisdom. Here, from the perceptions, we are moving slightly to the next level. How do we know that we are moving to the slightly to the next level? He says, Sarva Indriya Karmani and Prana Karmani. Sarva Indriya Karmani and Prana Karmani. Indriya Karmani means act. Indriya Karmani means Jnana Indriya Karmani. That is implied here. So, the Ahuti here to the functions of the organs of perception and Jnana Indriya Karmani, Karma Indriya Karmani. You can take it as both also, and Prana Karmani. When these functions of perception and action die away, self-realization is kindled. This is the yajna of self-control. Explain, you have to explain all this. This is what we are trying. Why it is called as self-control is because he doesn't want you to do guesswork. He himself has said it very clearly. Atma Samyama Yoga Gnau. By using the word yoga, he has implied it. Atma Samyama Yoga Gnau, meaning in the fire of yoga of self-control. In the fire of yoga of self-control. These functions of perception and action, Indriya Karmani and Prana Karmani, die away, self-realization is kindled. Idu oru yajna. Verse number 27 talks about only one yajna. Look at the subtle references, which is where we need to catch it. Which is where we have to catch. This verse uses the fire Agnau, singular. Previous verse, he used the word Agni in plural, Agnishu. And the singular and plural here, the entire difference is brought out. Just as I explained yesterday, the singular and the plural, the ends and the means. So in the previous verse, he spoke about Agnishu in plural. Here he used the word Agnau in singular. For a casual reader, it doesn't even register. If you just read through, you will not even register. Even if it is commented upon and elaborated also, you will still miss it. Because we have not yet understood the singular and the plural in relation to the ideals itself. Now what he says is, the yoga of self-control here is singular in the sense the mind directs itself away from the worldly actions. In this yajna, the mind directs itself away from the worldly actions and perceptions to the Supreme Self. In the preceding verse, he is explaining the difference between self-restraint and self-control. Even though after explaining also, we will still have a doubt. We will still come and ask, I remember how many times when we did this 3-year thing and when we were sitting and doing this 12 yajna, again and again the same question came. What is the difference between self-restraint and self-control? They are one and the same, no sir. They are one and the same, no. English vocabulary, it looks like they are one and the same. But then it is singular and plural. Now you should be able to Now you should be able to understand the difference. Both are not the same. Don't take it as a literal English language. Don't take the English language meaning. English language meaning both are one and the same. Yeah. Now Ganesh gets angry. இது நீங்க அன்னைக்கே சொல்லிருக்கணும் சார். You 5 years you withheld 5 years you withheld this and you are explaining now only he's firing me on the phone. Yeah, he's making a call and firing me. அன்னைக்கும் அதே தான் சொல்லிட்டு இன்னைக்கு கொஞ்சம் பெட்டரா புரியறதுனால it looks new அவ்வளவுதான். It's the same thing that is said then, the same thing that is said now. Are you able to follow the difference between restraint and self-restraint and self-control? Self-control means the mind. Why do we say the mind? Where does all the senses die, as it were? Where does all the senses go and reside? In one place, mind. Therefore, self-control means in that place where the senses die, control there itself. That is that. In the previous verse, where we talk about self-restraint in plural, what he says is the 5 self-restraints referred to corresponding senses. It is in relation to that particular. It is in relation to that particular sense, not the mind. Here we have taken the discussion to the next level. Where do all the senses die? To understand this, you need to know the mechanism of a perception. What is the mechanism of the perception? Perception means I know, I hear. Sorry, I know is intellectual. I hear is the perception. Are you able to follow? Now, to say I hear, what all happens? The objects, connection, you would know the sense object, the sense organ, the mind, and the buddhi. Subtle body. Mind and buddhi means subtle body. So, for a perception to happen, what is needed? ரொம்ப தலை சுத்துறது சார். இவ்வளவு காம்ப்ளிகேட்டடா மைண்ட் கண்ட்ரோல்னு சொல்லிட்டு விட்டுருங்கோம். என்னத்துக்கு கண்ட்ரோல் த மைண்ட்னு சொல்லிட்டு போயிட்டே இருக்கலாம். என்னத்துக்கு இவ்வளவு சொல்லணும்? It's so scientific. It is so wonderful is this knowledge. And why we don't talk about this is because most are not even prepared to listen to all this. Now what can you talk to a person who is not prepared to listen to all this? See, for perception to happen, what is needed? The object is needed. The object, the senses, the mind. Just the mind alone is not enough. The intellect has to the intellect has to discriminate between. The intellect has to. Mind collects all the data. The intellect discriminates and it says, I am hearing, I am smelling, I am tasting, I am touching, I am feeling, I am thinking. Now all these put together, when it is happening at the subtle level, is what is called as the mind. So yajna number 5, this yajna, the yoga of self-control, self-restraints applies to the individual senses. Therefore, in plural. Here it is not in reference to the. Here it is not in reference to the individual senses. It is in reference to the. It is in reference to the. In reference to the mind. See, please understand, when he says mind, what is implied is intellect is implied here. He need not say intellect separately. When he says mind, along with mind goes the intellect. That is why I explained the anatomy of a perception. In the நாலும் connect ஆனாதான் perception is complete. இந்த நாலும் connect ஆனாதான் perception is complete. Object is there, the sense organ is there, mind is elsewhere. Even when somebody makes a sound, you will not hear. Therefore, for a perception to happen, all these four are necessary. So first he spoke about the grosser part of it. Now he is moving on to the subtler part. What is the subtler part? The mind and the intellect. Since it is a subtler part, one entire verse he dedicates to one yajna. Ore yajna da verse number 27 talks about only one yajna. 26 covers the receipt, 27 covers the reaction. 26 covers the receipt, 27 covers the reaction. What is the reaction? Where does reaction happen? Reaction happens in the subtle body. And he has connected pranas also. Indriya karmani, prana karmani. Because prana karma, the functions of the pranas is the link between, we have said this any number of times. Prana is the link between the gross and the subtle. The gross and the subtle. Now, the eye is an organ. The indriya resides in the mind, subtle. The indriya resides in the mind. So the object, the organ, the prana, the indriya, manas. Are you able to follow the sequence? The object, again I repeat, the object, the organ, then comes the indriya, then comes the prana, then comes the indriya, the prana, the mind, the sequence. In this sequence, what are we concerned in this yajna? In this sequence, we are concerned with the yajna of the yoga of self-control. What does yoga of self-control means? What does yoga of self-control means? Intellect nu sollitale, what is implied along with intellect? Intellect nu sollitale, what is implied along with intellect? Knowledge. So whenever we say intellect, what is implied along with intellect? Knowledge. For intellect functions only through the knowledge. Therefore, the yoga of self-control arises out of knowledge, wisdom. As you grow wiser with the knowledge of the self, you become united with the self. You become one with the self. I have risen above involvement in the functions of the organs of perception and action. This is yajna in relation to yajna number I think this is yajna number 5 in relation to the reaction part, the yoga of self-control. Tomorrow I will be taking this yoga of self-control only again. We will I will re-explain the whole thing again, and then we go to the response part. Response part poyachana, it is very easy. Dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, swadhyaya jnana yajna, all that becomes comparatively easier to follow. So other that 4 yajnas will just finish it faster, because any number of times we keep seeing those 4 yajna. Even in general context also, we keep talking about the four yajnas. So tomorrow, what we will be doing is, we'll be taking up the same yajna number 5. Yajna number 5, the yajna of self-control. What does yajna of self-control means? Yajna of self-control implies, what is the ahuti here and what is kindled here? Ahuti kindling. அது மட்டும் தனித்தனியா எழுதி வச்சுக்கணும். அப்பதான் உங்களுக்கு சீக்வன்ஸ் புரியும். Ahuti kindled, ahuti kindling, ahuti. What is the ahuti here? The functions of the organs of perception and action. All the functions of perceptions and action, not only perception and action, including indriya karmani and prana karmani. Indriya means jnana indriyas and karma indriyas. Indriya karmani, prana karmani, now these are the ahuti. In the fire of yoga of self-control. When all this, what is this? Indriya karmani and prana karmani is managed. What is kindled? When all this is managed, what is kindled? Self-control. Self-control is kindled. When this is managed, self-control is kindled. Now for this, what is the spoon? Idhukku edu spoon inga? Buddhi, knowledge is the spoon. Knowledge is the spoon, knowledge of the self. So by the knowledge of the self, as you grow wiser with the knowledge of the self, நிறைய எடுத்து knowledge of self நிறைய எடுத்துனே இருந்தா, what will happen? To whatever extent you have gained this knowledge of the self, to that extent self-control is kindled. Very soon you attain self-realization. With this, yajna number 5 is over. Seriya? And I say, okay, means just for today. I will take up the whole. We will redo the entire yajna again tomorrow. Now, Bharat has a clarification. Bharat, I didn't take it up because I wanted to finish this and then come to your clarification. Can you explain the poem Daffodils in reference to the yajna of perception? Meaning the third yajna you are asking? Can you explain the poem Daffodils in reference to the yajna of perception?
So, for anything, I just took the example of daffodils.
Okay.
Because it's one of the most powerful poems.
Yeah.
Describing. So the poet actually sees a bunch of daffodils. So all input has gone into his.
Yes.
Yes. And he is expressing his fondness or the entire thing. Now, that way he's not restraining himself in actually in appreciation, for example. Now, when he's doing that, he's also getting into the motion of description of when you describe something.
Yes.
You're actually you're talking about that object, which is actually, let's say, beauty, for example.
Yes.
So it is definitely a huge attachment to that particular object.
Correct.
Maybe wrong.
Yes.
So how does one attribute this kind of poetry? And we also consider this highly philosophical, because as we go, we see that there is a lot of things that we learn from that poem. So I was just saying, because talking about yajna karma here,
yeah,
and especially with related to perception.
Yes.
So I was a little, I would like to know, and I'm a little confused because I'm not able to relate that particular philosophical angle to the poem and the concept of
Yes.
yajna karma.
Yes. What is happening in the poem Daffodils that he is asking is, he registers the perception of the daffodils. And there is a kind of involvement in that. There's a kind of involvement in that perception, describing the kind of getting carried away by the beauty and all that, and describing the daffodils. So there is a kind of involvement in that. Now, how do we derive the philosophy from it? Where is the philosophy coming in it? The philosophy is the reminder. What looking at the daffodils, what Wordsworth was able to remind, what was he reminded about? What is it that kindled in him? He saw the daffodil. Upon seeing the daffodil, what is kindled in him? What is he equated the daffodil to? Every aspect of it, he connected to the divine. Every aspect of the daffodil, he connected it to the divine. That connection, that which he is able to remind what the daffodils reminded him about. What the daffodils reminded him about is what the yajna of perception is all about there. In the ordinary case, somebody can see it as dirt also. Somebody can see it as unnecessary wild flower disturbing the beauty of the landscape also. The perception, the data is common to everybody. The reminder is different from person to person. So in yajna, what differs in yajna is not the data. The data is the same for everybody. What brings the difference is, what is it that the person is reminded of? Here in the poem Daffodils, he is reminded of
The divinity.
the divine. So he went into rapturous poetry, where Swamiji interprets this as karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, and the state of realization, where in one poem he has captured everything in detail.
Yeah.
Now, people say it is Wordsworth didn't mean it at all. It is his interpretation. I have heard quite a few telling me only, sir, is it, did Wordsworth actually meant like karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, or he just wrote a poem and Swamiji interpreting it? Ya pashyati sa pashyati. Whoever sees it, yaha pashyati saha pashyati. Whoever sees it, he saw that. But one thing you cannot discount is Wordsworth saw something very high in that. What Wordsworth was reminded of something divine in that. That divinity is what is the yajna of perception is all about. Are you able to follow? You can see a rose. I give this example. No, a person passes through a rose garden. 5 guys pass through the rose garden. Data is the same for all the 5. One person can see a wonderful business opportunity. Another person can use the bunch of roses and patch up with the wife with whom he fought in the morning. The devotee of God can say, I can make a garland and offer it to God. The plant lover will come and say, how dare you cut the rose? Who are you? Who gave you the right to cut the rose? Now the reactions are many. The reminders are many. One person gets reminded of divinity, not the attributes of that. See, when you see a perception, you can get carried away by that. Or what is it at the core? Are you able to follow the two possibilities? One is you can get carried away by that. By that means the properties, the attributes, the qualities. Another thing is what is it at the core? The person who can connect to the core is where yajna comes in. A person sees the properties, he sees a business proposition, no? He sees it as a very good business proposition. Now, what is kindled in him is, when he sees a business proposition, what is kindled in him is wealth. When he sees a bunch of bouquet, what is kindled in him is an emotion.
Yes.
In the case of William Wordsworth, what is kindled is the core.
Cool. The divinity.
The divinity. So in perception, always remember this. In perception, you have two possibilities. Nama Rupa. Thatna namak already therinjadu idella pudusilla. Nama Rupa. You can get carried away by Nama Rupa, the name and form. The name and the form. Or what is beyond the Nama Rupa. When what is beyond the name and form comes, what is beyond the properties and the qualities and all that comes, yajna comes in. That is why when I defined the yajna, I said yajna is the reminder of the divine.
Exactly.
Yajna has to remind you of the divine. Then only it is yajna. Efficient action that produces worldly result, you can't call it as yajna.
Never.
Efficient result that brings you profit, you can't call it as an yajna. An action that reminds you of the divine. So when we say it is include, when we say you remind of the divine means efficiency and all is included in that already.
Correct. Correct.
And another subtlety explain pannike. Yeah. Therefore, this is how Wordsworth daffodils can be explained in relation to the yajna of perception. He saw the Nama Rupa and he saw something beyond that also. He saw that and he saw the what also. Nama Rupa he saw and he saw beyond that also. In the case of an ordinary person, we see only the Nama Rupa and get carried away by that Nama Rupa. So we don't do yajna of perception. We are involved in that perception.
Correct. Right.
Seriya?
Yes.
Is it okay, Bharat? Did I help you in any way?
No, lots. Definitely. I'm trying to see how we can relate all these things.
Yes.
In whatever we learned. So there's a lot of.
Correct. Yes, there is a lot of these things, connections. And the mechanism of perception purino. That and what purino avladha. The Nama Rupa and beyond that Nama Rupa purino avladha. It's very simple. What I am trying to do in these 12 yajnas is I am trying to expose how the various aspects of the logic and reason and tarka and all that is involved in this, which we don't get to expose at all in a normal course of it. That's why I'm using this as an opportunity to explain. See, Vedanta says it develops the intellect. No. How does it develop the intellect? We should know the process of thinking rightly. So I'm using this 12 yajnas as a tool to help us to think clearly. Therefore, you feel what was explained before is slightly different from what is being explained now. The difference is I am bringing in the formulas and all that. Once ఏదో ఒక కాన్సెప్ట్ కుల్ల ఫార్ములాస్ పుంచుంటాంనాక we can apply it everywhere, because the formulas for analysis and thinking is not restricted only to these 12 yajnas.
Correct.
Yeah, it is once you learn how to think, it can be applied everywhere. Now we can't have a thinking class separate. We can't say, let us have a session on how to think. We can't have a session. That will look that will be absolutely dry. Absolutely dry. And Vedanta doesn't accept that way of, traditionally we don't do that. So we take up something and bring in everything into that.
Agreed.
சரியா? Are you able to follow? அதனால என்ன ஆகுது இங்க, I'm trying to, since I am bringing in some form, now all the formulas and all that we know everywhere. None of it is, I'm not giving anything new as such. All that is spread out everywhere. I'm just trying to make it into a sequence. Because 12 yajna is built in with that sequence. In the 12 yajna portions, there is a built-in sequence. Adanala, we don't have to extra interpolate pannila sollungiradilla. There is a sequence already and we are making use of it to understand it rightly. Are you able to follow?
Yep.
Seriya? We continue tomorrow with the same yajna number 5, the yoga of self-control.
Thank you.
Thank you.